She's the first rookie to win WNBA Player of the Month since the award's inception in 2010, and last night it was no exception. They were sky high for Caitlin Clark and the Fever, but to start the season, they had a little bit of a rough go of it. They lost their first 5 games. They ended up 1-8 through their first 9 games, and during that first month, the playoffs, they didn't feel realistic at all. Indy entered the Olympic break 11-15 on the year, and then they really turned it around. They've won 7 of their 8 since. They clinched a playoff berth for the first time since 2016, which, by the way, was the last year of Hall of Famer and franchise icon Tamika Catchings.
The Indiana Fever just made a move that could change everything. They're gambling their entire future on rookies. Caitlin Clark and Aliyah Boston are staying, but everyone else, they might be out. This is huge. We're talking about a team that's willing to lose their veteran core for a chance at building a dynasty. But is it genius or just plain crazy? Let's look at what's really going on here. Let's talk about the untouchables on the Fever's roster. You know who I'm talking about, Caitlin Clark and Aliyah Boston. These two are locked in, no question about it. Clark hasn't even stepped on a WNBA court yet, but she's already a superstar. Her college numbers, they're insane. She scores like it's nothing. We're talking about a player who averaged 31.6 points per game in her senior year at Iowa. That's not just good, that's video game numbers. And Boston, she's a monster in the paint. Blocks shots, grabs rebounds, scores inside. She does it all. In her rookie season, she averaged 14.5 points and 8.4 rebounds per game. That's impressive for a first-year player. These two aren't just good players. They're the future of the Fever. The team is building around them, and for good reason. Clark's passing ability and long-range shooting combined with Boston's dominant inside presence, that's a combo that could terrorize the league for years. You know why Clark and Boston are considered untouchable? It's not just their on-court skills, their jerseys are selling like crazy. Clark's jersey sold out in minutes after she was drafted. The Fever would be crazy to let either of them go. They're not just players, they're brand ambassador, bringing in fans and money. But here's the thing, protecting Clark and Boston means tough choices for other players. The Fever can't keep everyone. Some veterans might have to go, some promising young players might not get protected. It's a high-stakes game of roster Tetris, and the Fever are betting big on their 2 stars. Will it pay off? Only time will tell. But one thing's for sure, with Clark and Boston leading the way, the Fever are going to be must-watch basketball. The future in Indiana is looking bright, but it comes at a cost. And that cost? It's what we're going to talk about next. While Clark and Boston are locked in, another star's future hangs in the balance. Kelsey Mitchell's been dropping buckets for the Fever for years.
We err on the side of professionalism in a lot of different ways, and we can only control what's in our organization, within our people. And that, I mean, me personally, we don't condone those kind of things. No. I would say my most memorable moment was my first time seeing the amount of fans. I don't know if it was like this is crazy moment. I think for me, what was most glaring is, for one, the amount of eyes that was gained through this process, for seeing us play and seeing us represent what is the game.
But now she's got one foot out the door. The team's got a trick up their sleeve to keep her, but using it might cost them big time. What's this secret weapon, and why are fans losing their minds over it? Let's talk about Kelsey Mitchell. She's been the heart and soul of this Fever team for years. You know what's crazy? She just had her best season ever. We're talking a career-high 20.5 points per game, and she's shooting lights out at 48.3%. That's not all. She's taking care of the ball better than ever, with only 1.8 turnovers per game. Mitchell's not just scoring, she's doing everything. Her rebounds are up, her three-point shooting is on fire, she's the complete package. But here's the problem. Mitchell's contract is up. She's a free agent. You know what that means? The Fever could lose her for nothing. Imagine Mitchell lighting it up for another team. That's a nightmare scenario for Fever fans. Now, the Fever have this thing called a core designation. It's like a franchise tag in football. They can use it on Mitchell to keep her, but it's not that simple. Using it means they're locking up a huge chunk of their salary cap. That could make it tough to keep other players or bring in new talent. So the Fever are in a tough spot. Use the core designation and keep Mitchell, but lose flexibility, or let her walk and risk losing their star player. It's not just about Mitchell. This decision affects the whole team's future. You know what's making this even crazier? Fans are freaking out about Nalissa Smith's Instagram. She just scrubbed the Fever from her profile. What's that about? Is she upset about something? Is she thinking about leaving too? It's adding a whole new level of drama to an already tense situation. This Mitchell situation isn't happening in a vacuum. The Fever have gone through a lot of coaching changes, and that instability could influence Mitchell's decision to stay. She's been loyal so far, but how much more change can one player take? The Fever are at a crossroads. Keep their veteran star or gamble on the future. Whatever they decide, it's going to shape Indiana basketball for years to come. Fans are on the edge of their seat, waiting to see what happens next. Speaking of gambles, the Fever might be sitting on a few aces they didn't even know they had. Remember that kid who couldn't hit the broadside of a barn last season? Well, she just turned into one of the deadliest shooters in the league. And that's just the start of the young talent giving the Fever front office night sweats. Let's talk about Lexi Hull. Last season, she was throwing up bricks like it was her job. Now, she's transformed into a three-point assassin. I'm not kidding. Over the last 16 games of the season, Hull was shooting over 50% from beyond the arc. That's not just good, that's elite level stuff.
I mean, it's been awesome. It's been so good. Definitely seen just such a growth year after year. So, I mean, it's been so fun. The fans in Indiana have been amazing. So just excited to keep playing there. But I would say I don't think there's extra pressure. I think it's just, it's so much more exciting. It's an exciting environment, electric environment. When you have fans so engaged. So fun to have fans so engaged in a game. And I definitely feel like second half of the season, all of our shots, threes going up, fans are out of their seats and expecting it to go in. So that just feels so good to feel the confidence from them.
She went from liability to lethal weapon faster than you can say swish. But Hull's not the only young gun making waves. Remember Nalissa Smith? The Fever picked her second overall in the 2022 draft, expecting big things. Well, she's been more of a roller coaster than a slam dunk. Smith's putting up decent numbers. 13 points and 8 rebounds a game, but she's about as consistent as Indiana weather. One game she's dominating, the next she's disappearing. Her shooting's all over the place too, hitting just 45.8% from the field and a yikes-worthy 62% from the free throw line. And we can't forget about Grace Berger. She's Indiana's hometown hero, and fans are eating it up. Berger is not just a feel-good story though. She's locking down opponents on defense and hitting clutch shots when it matters, plus having a local star is gold for ticket sales. Here's the thing, these young players are giving the Fever a major headache, but in a good way. They're improving so fast the team can't afford to let them go, but protecting them means some tough choices are coming. You know what's crazy? Keeping these young guns might mean saying goodbye to some veteran players. The Fever can't protect everyone, and these up-and-comers are making a strong case for themselves. It's like the team's playing a high-stakes game of roster Tetris, trying to figure out how all these pieces fit together. So which vets might be on the chopping block? We're talking about players like Erica Wheeler and Tiffany Mitchell. They've been with the Fever through thick and thin, but now they might be the odd ones out. It's a tough pill to swallow, but that's the price of building for the future. Remember when I said the Fever were playing roster Tetris? Well, for some veterans, the game might be over. Let's talk about Erica Wheeler, Tiffany Mitchell, and Emma Cannon. These players have been with the Fever through the good times and the bad, but now they might be packing their bags. Take Erica Wheeler. She's been great at running the offense, but her scoring, it's dropped off a cliff. Last season was her worst since she was a rookie back in 2015. That's not good when you're trying to keep your spot on a team that's hungry for success. Then there's Tiffany Mitchell. She's reliable, sure, but with all this new talent coming in, where does she fit? It's like trying to squeeze a square peg into a round hole. The Fever are changing, and Mitchell might be the odd one out. And don't forget Emma Cannon. She's got that veteran presence teams love. But here's the thing, the WNBA is getting faster. It's like everyone hit the turbo button, and Cannon might be stuck in first gear. In a league that's all about speed and agility, can she keep up? You know what's crazy? These vets might be more valuable to other teams than they are to the Fever. Expansion teams are coming, and they love experienced players. It's like the Fever are setting up a buffet, and the new teams are ready to feast. But here's where things get really wild. There's drama brewing off the court, and it's not pretty. Alyssa Thomas from the Connecticut Sun dropped a bombshell. She said she's never experienced racial comments like she has from the Indiana Fever fan base. That's huge. It's not just about basketball anymore. This is serious stuff that could affect how players see the team. The Fever's coach, Christy Sides, had to step in. She said all that hateful speech is unacceptable, but the damage might already be done. Think about it. If you're a player Would you want to stay with a team where fans are acting like that? So the Fever are in a tough spot. If they don't protect these vets, it's like handing them to the new teams on a silver platter. But keeping them means less room for young talent. And with all this off-court drama, who knows if the vets even want to stay? The Fever aren't just rebuilding a team, they're trying to fix their whole image. Talk about a challenge. The Indiana Fever are staring down the barrel of the biggest decision in their history. It's not just about wins and losses anymore. This choice is going to shape Indiana basketball for years to come. Think about it. They could lose their star player, shake up their entire roster, and maybe even change the whole vibe of the team. Imagine you're sitting in that GM's chair right now. What would you do? Keep Kelsey Mitchell and risk losing some young talent, or let her walk and hope Clark and Boston can carry the team? It's not an easy call. You've got fans screaming for wins, players fighting for their jobs, and a whole state watching your every move. And let's not forget about all that off-court drama. The Fever aren't just rebuilding a team, they're trying to fix their whole image. It's like they're playing chess, but half the pieces are on fire. Whatever they decide, it's gonna be a wild ride. Indiana basketball will never be the same after this.